The morning she returned, the world felt painfully still, like the air itself was holding its breath. Sunlight spilled across our front yard, soft and forgiving, but nothing about that day was gentle. Not when my wife, Mira, stepped out of the taxi with her small travel bag, smiling at the sight of home, only to freeze mid-step when her eyes locked on the tall white for sale sign planted in the grass. The smile drained from her face, her knees buckled just slightly, the way they do when someone's heart is struck before the mind has time to react. She didn't call out my name. She didn't shout. She just stood there in that bright day, staring at the one thing she never expected to see. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to 4K Stories. It truly helps us bring more heartfelt stories to you. Mira and I had been married for 9 years, and in those years our home had become the one thing that always held us together. We bought it when we had nothing but hope and borrowed furniture. Every corner carried a memory: the hand-painted mural in the hallway, the faint scratch on the living room tiles from moving the sofa one night while dancing, the garden she nurtured like a quiet promise to better days. To her, this house wasn't walls and cement. It was the story of our lives written in sunlight and dust and laughter. So when she returned from a weekend women's retreat to find the for sale sign standing there like an open wound, her world cracked. Inside the house, I was seated at the dining table, staring at papers I had reread so many times that the letters had begun to blur. I had barely slept in 2 nights. Selling the house was never something I wanted. It was something I couldn't outrun anymore. Debt had piled up silently, like dust settling in places I conveniently ignored. The business I had started, a small printing shop, had struggled miserably, poor timing, worse luck. Clients left, bills grew teeth, and shame settled into my bones. I had tried to shield Mira from all of it because she had already been carrying the emotional weight of losing her father the previous year. She needed peace, and I foolishly believed that hiding the truth was the same as giving it to her. When she walked in through the door, the quiet click of the lock felt heavier than thunder. She wasn't crying. She wasn't even shaking. She simply walked in with the calm of someone who had been hit too hard to feel the pain immediately. She passed by the living room without touching the furniture she usually straightened the moment she came home. She approached the dining table, placed her bag down, and stood across from me. The sunlight through the window fell sharply across her face, illuminating the confusion and betrayal swimming in her eyes. It was daytime, but it felt like the brightest, harshest light I had ever seen. I tried to speak, but no words formed. My silence, once intended to protect her, now felt like a betrayal laid bare. She sat down slowly, her fingers touching the edge of the table as if to keep the ground beneath her steady. I could feel the question pressing against her lips, but she couldn't ask it. Not yet. So I spoke first, my voice cracking like old wood. I told her everything: the failing business, the loans, the calls I had ignored, the fear of telling her, the decision I made alone, thinking it was the only way to keep us from drowning. As the truth spilled out, Mira closed her eyes, but not in anger. Her shoulders trembled once, just once, like she was trying to bear the weight of a truth too heavy for one heart. When she opened her eyes again, they were glassy but steady. She asked me why I thought she couldn't handle the truth, why I believed I had to struggle alone, why I didn't trust the woman who had walked through fire with me before. Her voice didn't rise, it didn't break. It just carried the hurt of a love that had been blindsided. For hours we sat there. The afternoon sun shifted, stretching shadows across the floor. I felt like every confession I made was another stone removed from the fragile foundation of our marriage. But Mira didn't storm out. She didn't pack her bags. She listened, quietly, painfully, bravely, and when I finished, she didn't offer immediate forgiveness. She simply said she needed a moment to breathe, to think, to understand what our lives were turning into. She stepped outside, into the daylight, and sat on the front steps. I watched her from the doorway. She stared at the for sale sign like it was a stranger intruding on her memories. She touched the soil of her garden, letting the dirt sift through her fingers, grounding herself in the only way she knew how. And then her tears came not loud, not dramatic, just slow, quiet tears of someone grieving not the house, but the secrets. I let her sit alone until she finally rose and walked back to me. She said she wasn't angry about the money. She was hurt that I had fought a battle without letting her stand beside me. She reminded me that marriage wasn't about shielding one another from pain, but sharing the weight of it. She looked at me with a softness that scared me more than her anger ever could. Because softness meant she was breaking inside, trying to hold everything together. That evening, for the first time in months, we talked about everything, not just the debt, but our fears, our insecurities, our dreams that had quietly faded behind responsibilities. The next morning, she woke me early. It was still bright morning light, warm and honest. She stood at my side of the bed and told me she had made a decision. If we had to sell the house, we would do it together, but she wanted to explore options first. She wanted to fight with me, not after me. She spent the entire day on calls, researching loan restructuring, small business relief programs, even government grants I had been too defeated to consider. She walked room to room, taking photos of the house, not for listing, but to document everything she loved in case we really had to say goodbye. But something in her determination that day felt like a spark I had forgotten existed. The days that followed weren't easy. There were moments we snapped at each other, moments we cried, moments we sat in silence, but slowly things shifted. Mira convinced a friend who worked at a community center to help set up a booth for my printing business during their local events. She redesigned the promotional material herself. She pushed me, gently but firmly, into believing again. Bit by bit, orders trickled in. Not enough to erase the debt, but enough to replace hopelessness with possibility. Then, one bright afternoon, when we were reviewing budgets at the dining table, Mira looked up and said the words I had been afraid to hope for. "I think we can save the house." Her voice trembled as if the idea itself was fragile. But her eyes burned with certainty. We moved the for sale sign to the garage that same evening. Not thrown, not broken, just laid down like a battle we had decided to fight differently. Months passed. The business grew, not magically, not suddenly, but steadily. Enough that the bank offered a restructuring plan we could handle. Enough that the weight on my chest loosened. Enough that one morning Mira stood in the doorway of my shop, holding 2 cups of coffee, smiling at me like she hadn't in a long time. The kind of smile that told me we weren't just surviving anymore, we were healing. Our home became brighter again, not perfect, not untouched, but ours. By the end of that year, the for sale sign was still in the garage, dusty and forgotten. Sometimes we'd see it when reaching for a toolbox, and Mira would squeeze my hand, a silent reminder of how close we came to losing everything. Not the house, but each other, and how choosing honesty, even when it hurts, can rebuild what silence almost broke. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps 4K Stories continue bringing emotional, real, and inspiring stories to life.